The more I think about it, it's like the spirit box is something that represents the unknown to me, but then also like communication and my difficulties communicating with myself and with other people. And it seems like that's always like the crux of all my problems, is not being able to communicate. So especially like being on Zoom nowadays, it's making me really like, it's giving me like a, an eye-opening thing on my band name. I was like, why am I called this? So it's like both mysterious stuff that I don't understand, and then also kind of universal stuff. Like that's the whole point of the spirit box, is like a conduit to two different worlds, like a portal to a different world. Well, when I was a kid, any life lesson I learned in a song, it usually was wrapped up in a relationship metaphor. And I think those are the things that I could connect with the most as a kid, because that's like all you feel when you're a kid is like heartbreak of your true love rejecting you, or not being able to understand why your parents are mad at you or something like that. So when I was a kid, I really liked, bands like Coldplay, and I loved John Mayer. I loved good old fashioned love songs, is what I gravitated to as a kid. Um, and then as I got older, I started listening to more like 70s hard rock. And I think a lot of those guys, yes, there was love songs, but they also weren't afraid to kind of have the lyrical content of the song really embrace the whole vibe of the instrumental, which generally was like extremely proggy and spacey. And so there was, then I started listening to stuff more like someone like Pink Floyd, what they would be singing about, sometimes a love song, but oftentimes just very out there abstract lyrical content, which then that's really sparked in my head how much it paired so well with the instrumental and kind of all was one harmonious thing, rather than like a love song, created over like a prog rock song. When I was a kid, I was so focused on being like this perfect kid. Like I was so focused on building my resume as a 13-year-old, and with the foresight of needing that resume to stack up a certain way when by the time I was 18, so that I could be the best at everything and academically. And so everything, it was so weird when I look back. It's like a lot of the stuff that I was passionate about, I was more so passionate about winning it. You know what I mean? So like I would be passionate about being in the school play, but more so it was that I needed to be the lead role in the play and not lose the part. So I was very passionate, or I was passionate about making the track team, but like I would only specifically try out for the races that I knew I'd win, or at least make the team for. And so I was like very passionate about being the best, and then extremely scared of failing at anything. So for me, playing music, playing my guitar and my piano and making little songs was like my one private time thing that I didn't share with anyone. My family just heard me doing it in my room and strumming along and teaching myself how to play songs. But I didn't think about that being something that I could do publicly and not just be a hobby until I was out of high school, when I moved to Canada. And I went from being this like perfect, like predestined sorority girl in Alabama, where that was very important to me, to be the best at everything so I could get that scholarship and get this. And then moving here, and I went from a school where I had like 150 people in my class to 1,500 people in my class. And it just hit me out that like none of that stuff matters to me. And I'm never going to be the best at anything, and that's okay. So I should just do what makes me happy. And then that's when I started making music, for not just for myself, but for other people. Well, just like most musical stuff that's happened to me in my life, you know, it all comes from a very pure, innocent, like vacuum of, you know, this one was my husband and I were in an already established band that we were replacement musicians in. And then when we left that band, it was our first time creating music together with no baggage. You know, there was no previous music, previous work, previous artists in the band. It was just us creating music down in our basement with no one to tell us it doesn't sound enough like this or enough like that. We worked on that, Michael and I, for about 2 years or so of creating everything, you know, paying for everything ourselves and just trying to build it up, because you know how it is when it's a lot easier when there's 5 of you in a band to do all the financial backing than when there's just 2 of you. And so then, you know, we were lucky enough to have our friend Bill decide to join a couple years later. And so that kind of just made things feel more like a cohesive unit. And he plays bass. So my husband, Michael, writes everything. I do all the singing and the lyric writing, and then we have Bill in there as well. And it just, you know, it was like everything that we do in the band, even now, is just, it feels really extra special to us because we spent so much time like always trying to figure out how to create music for the fans of the band that already was established that they'd like. And everything that we've written in Spiritbox has just been stuff that it's kind of like a little slice of, like a moment in time, like a slice of our life, of our references and what inspires us in that moment. And so it's weird because our band, we have so many new listeners, but everyone's kind of, it's like an experiment. Well, it's 100% an homage to the book and the movie. That was just a big reference for me as a kid. You know how kids watch the same movie over and over every day. That was one of the movies that I loved so much as a kid, and which is so interesting now as an adult because it's a very dark movie. The one from the 90s. It's very, very dark, and a lot of stuff in there I didn't quite understand, but I understood the tone, like the heavy tone of it, the somberness of it. And so this song, when we were writing it, it was one of those songs that just sometimes, you know, they just flow out, and this is one of the songs that just kind of flowed from Michael's hands into the guitar. And when we were making the chorus for it, you know, we just kept being so compelled to have like a more straightforward rock chorus for the drums and everything. And then we were kind of scared of that, like, that is that us? And then I think we all kind of leaned into we're doing something that we were kind of scared of, because, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of bands you talk to that make kind of less like accessible music. They almost get like a bit of anxiety if something feels accessible. And as we realize how that's so dumb, like, just make whatever you think serves. You know, like, that's like the most rock and roll thing I've ever is to be scared that something's too catchy or straightforward. Like, if you love how it sounds and it speaks to you, then own it. And so because of that, a beautiful chorus that normally we would kind of jazz up with some weird time signatures and stuff, we really let it just be opened up because that's what served the song. And it just allowed me to really sing in a way that I just had so much comfort, because I'm not competing with, you know, a bunch of other instruments trying to outdo my voice. So everything feels so natural in that song. And, you know, I like doing a kind of upbeat sounding song that has a bit of melancholy. I love melodrama and that kind of, that over the top dramatic feeling to something, even if it's happy sounding, contrast with like a introspective or sad lyric. It really gets me going.